My child, if this message found you tonight, it is not an accident. There are people you have been holding on to with exhausted hands while your spirit quietly breaks under the weight of trying to keep them close. You keep calling it loyalty, but deep inside, you already know something is ending. I need you to stay with me through this message because what I am about to reveal will reach into places you have been hiding even from yourself. Do not scroll away from this moment too quickly. Listen carefully, because the pain you have been carrying is connected to a release your future depends on. Before this message ends, you are going to understand why certain people had to leave, why your peace has been disappearing, and why letting go may be the very thing that finally saves your heart. My child, I know how difficult this has been for you. There are people you keep trying to hold close because your heart remembers the connection you once had with them. You keep returning to old conversations in your mind, hoping something will feel the way it used to feel. Part of you still believes that if you love harder, stay longer, or remain patient enough, things will finally become peaceful again. But I need you to understand something that your heart has been resisting for a long time. Not everyone you love is meant to continue into the future I am preparing for you. You have spent so much energy trying to preserve relationships that have already been quietly fading. Deep inside, you noticed the change long ago. You felt it in the way conversations became forced. You felt it in the heaviness that stayed with you after certain interactions. You began questioning yourself more often, wondering if you were expecting too much or becoming too sensitive. But your spirit was not overreacting. Your heart was simply becoming aware of what your mind kept trying to deny. I never wanted you to live in constant emotional exhaustion just to keep someone close to you. Love should not leave you feeling anxious every day. It should not make you afraid to express your feelings honestly. Some people only know how to receive your care while giving very little back to you in return. You have mistaken endurance for loyalty for too long. Staying connected to people who continuously drain your peace is not wisdom, my child. It is slowly breaking your spirit. I know one of the hardest parts for you is accepting that people can change. You keep holding on to memories of who they used to be, but memories cannot sustain relationships that no longer carry honesty, effort, or emotional safety. Sometimes you are grieving potential more than reality. You are mourning what you hoped things could become instead of accepting what they actually are right now. Please stop blaming yourself for every ending. Some relationships fall apart because your soul can no longer survive inside patterns that keep hurting you. You are growing, even if you do not fully recognize it yet. Things that once felt normal now disturb your peace because I am teaching you discernment. I am showing you that your heart matters too. Let them go, my child. Not with bitterness, not with anger. Release them with honesty and trust me with what comes next. You are not losing your future by releasing people who repeatedly make you feel emotionally unseen. I am leading you toward relationships that will not require you to abandon your peace just to keep love in your life. My child, I need you to stop pretending that you are healing while you continue standing in the same place that keeps hurting your heart. You keep telling yourself that you are getting stronger, but every time you return to certain people, certain conversations, or certain environments, the peace you worked so hard to recover begins slipping through your hands again. I see the way your spirit tightens before some interactions even begin. I see how your mind races afterward, replaying words, questioning yourself, carrying emotional weight that was never meant to stay on your shoulders this long. You have spent too much time trying to heal while remaining surrounded by the very things that wounded you. That is like trying to rest while holding a storm against your chest. I never asked you to prove your love by tolerating constant emotional pain. I never asked you to stay where your voice feels unsafe, where your feelings are minimized, or where your presence is only appreciated when you are useful to someone else. You keep hoping the situation will suddenly soften, but your heart already knows how exhausted you have become. Come closer to me for a moment and be honest about what this has done to you. You have lost sleep over people who barely notice the weight you carry. You have walked around with a smile while your thoughts felt like a battlefield inside your mind. You became so focused on preserving certain relationships that you stopped noticing how deeply they were affecting your peace. Your spirit has been crying out for rest while your heart kept saying, "Maybe one more chance will fix this." But healing does not grow where confusion constantly lives. I want you to release the pressure to keep saving what is draining you. Stop forcing yourself to remain emotionally available to people who repeatedly leave you wounded. That constant heaviness you feel is not something you should ignore. Listen to your spirit. Pay attention to how your body reacts when your peace disappears around certain people. I created your heart to recognize when something is no longer healthy for you. You do not have to hate anyone to step away. You do not need revenge. You do not need to prove your pain to people who refused to understand it while you were carrying it. Just breathe. Let go slowly if you need to, but stop reopening wounds that I have been trying to heal inside you. I am calling you into a season where your soul can finally rest without constantly preparing for disappointment. Walk away from what keeps breaking your peace, my child. Choose healing even if it feels unfamiliar at first. Trust me enough to believe that protecting your heart is not selfish. It is necessary for the future I am preparing for you. My child, I know this goodbye has been heavier than you expected. Part of you keeps wondering why it hurts this much if letting go is truly the right thing to do. You thought that peace would come immediately once the distance began, but instead you found yourself grieving in quiet moments you did not prepare for. You miss the familiar parts. You miss the comfort of what once felt secure. Even after everything that wounded you, your heart still remembers the moments that once felt warm and safe. That is why this feels confusing inside you. Please do not mistake your grief for weakness. You love sincerely, and real love leaves marks on the heart when it ends. You invested your time, your care, your prayers, your patience, and pieces of yourself that nobody else fully saw. You tried to hold things together long after your spirit became tired. You kept hoping that honesty, loyalty, or understanding would eventually return the relationship to what it once was. But some goodbyes happened because the connection stopped growing in healthy ways long before the separation became visible. I need you to stop punishing yourself for still feeling emotional about this. Healing is not cold. Healing is not pretending you never cared. You are allowed to miss people and still recognize that they are no longer healthy for your life. That tension inside your heart is what makes letting go difficult. You are grieving both the reality and the future you imagined together. Sometimes the pain is not only about losing the person. Sometimes it is about losing the hope you attach to them. Come sit with me in this moment and release the guilt you have been carrying. You keep wondering whether you should have stayed quieter, loved differently, or sacrificed more of yourself to make things work. But love was never supposed to require you to slowly disappear just to keep someone close. Relationships cannot survive in healthy ways when one person is constantly carrying the emotional weight for both hearts. I also want you to understand that not every goodbye means failure. Some people enter your life for a season, and when that season ends, forcing it to continue only creates deeper pain. You cannot build peace while constantly begging someone to value what you freely gave. Your worth does not decrease because someone failed to protect your heart properly. So let yourself grieve honestly, my child, but do not stay trapped there. Lift your head slowly. Breathe again. Open your hands instead of clenching tightly around what keeps slipping away. I am not removing love from your life. I am guiding you away from relationships that kept teaching your heart to survive instead of truly rest. My child, you keep asking me why certain people have become distant, why some conversations suddenly feel empty, and why relationships that once consumed your attention no longer satisfy your heart the same way. I need you to stop seeing every separation as punishment. Some things are fading because I am creating space for you to hear me clearly again. Your spirit has been overcrowded for too long. You have been carrying so many voices, opinions, emotional demands, and constant distractions that you barely recognize what peace feels like anymore. Come sit with me honestly for a moment and look at what your heart has been enduring. You wake up thinking about people who drain you. You replay situations in your mind while trying to figure out how to keep everyone happy. You spend your energy managing tension, avoiding conflict, and holding relationships together with exhausted hands. Meanwhile, your own spirit has been sitting quietly in the background, waiting for rest that never fully arrives. I never created you to live emotionally scattered like this. There are people in your life who constantly pull your attention away from healing. Every interaction leaves your thoughts tangled. Every conversation stirs confusion instead of clarity. You keep trying to preserve connections that have slowly become noise inside your soul. Listen carefully to what I am saying to you now. Anything that repeatedly steals your peace, weakens your confidence, or clouds your discernment cannot continue leading your life. I know part of you still wants to hold on because familiarity feels safer than change. Even unhealthy patterns can begin to feel comfortable when you have lived inside them long enough. But I am asking you to trust me beyond your fear. Release the need to chase every person who walks away from you. Stop forcing access into places where your presence is barely protected. Breathe deeply and allow yourself to step back from what constantly leaves you emotionally exhausted. You have mistaken constant emotional intensity for connection. That is why silence feels uncomfortable to you now. But do not run from the quiet season I am bringing into your life. The silence is not emptiness. The silence is where your healing begins. It is where your thoughts settle. It is where your heart finally stops performing for acceptance and starts remembering who you are in my presence. So pause, my child. Turn away from the noise for a while. Put down the emotional weight you keep carrying for everyone else. Let me teach your spirit how to rest again. You do not need to keep surrounding yourself with chaos just to avoid feeling alone. I am already here with you. And where my peace enters, confusion slowly loses its grip on your heart. My child, I am speaking to you in this very moment, for as I remove distractions from your life, I am also calling you to help carry my voice into other hearts still trapped in noise. Be still and know that I am God is not just written. It is alive now, flowing like a river of peace into your spirit. I am planting a quiet fire within you, a holy awareness that what I am doing is not loss, but divine alignment. And now I ask you, will you help me amplify this word so others can hear me calling them out of confusion? So into this work through Super Thanks membership, with the PayPal link in the video description, and watch how I turn your seed into a harvest of delivered souls. What you release in obedience will return to you as peace, clarity, and protection over your household. I am breathing my favor upon every gift given in my name, and I will not let your sacrifice go unnoticed in heaven. Now obey my voice, give, and let this message go further than your hands alone can carry. My child, I know how many nights you have spent trying to understand what happened. You keep replaying old memories in your mind, searching for the exact moment things shifted between you and the people you once trusted. Part of you still struggles to accept that someone who once spoke gently to your heart could later become distant, careless, or emotionally unavailable. You keep asking yourself whether you missed something, whether you caused the change, or whether there was something more you could have done to keep the relationship from slipping away. Come closer and let me speak honestly to your heart. Not every change happened because you failed. Sometimes people simply reveal who they truly are over time. At first, you only saw the version of them that made you feel wanted, valued, or understood. But relationships cannot stay hidden forever. Time exposes intentions. Pressure reveals character. Distance uncovers what words alone cannot hide. You have been exhausting yourself trying to recover old versions of people who no longer exist in the way you remember them. I know your heart keeps reaching backward because memories feel warmer than reality. You remember the laughter, the closeness, the comfort of believing someone would always remain beside you. But while you keep staring at the past, your spirit quietly suffers in the present. You keep overlooking what their actions are showing you now because your heart is still attached to what used to be. I need you to stop romanticizing relationships that repeatedly leave you wounded. Pay attention to patterns instead of promises. Watch how your peace disappears around certain people. Notice how often you leave conversations feeling drained, confused, or emotionally small. Your heart has been trying to warn you, but your fear of losing people has kept you ignoring what is already clear inside you. Release the pressure to keep fixing what only one person is trying to repair. Relationships cannot survive through one-sided effort forever. You cannot carry honesty, communication, emotional safety, and loyalty entirely by yourself while someone else simply benefits from your devotion. That weight will eventually crush your spirit. Take a deep breath now and stop blaming yourself for every change you could not control. Some people drift because your paths are no longer aligned. Some connections weaken because your soul is growing in ways that no longer fit the environment you once shared together. That does not erase the love you carried. It simply means the season changed. Let go of the version of them your heart keeps chasing, my child. Accept what their actions have already revealed. Trust me enough to believe that I am not removing good things from your life without reason. I am guiding you away from relationships that can no longer support the peace, healing, and future your spirit desperately needs. My child, I need you to stop fighting the discomfort you have been feeling lately. You keep wondering why certain places, conversations, and relationships no longer feel the same to you. Things that once brought excitement now leave your spirit tired. Environments you once called home suddenly feel heavy in ways you cannot fully explain. You have been trying to force yourself to stay comfortable inside spaces your soul has already outgrown. That is why your heart feels restless even when everything around you appears familiar. Come closer and pay attention to what is happening inside you. You are changing. Your spirit is waking up to things you once ignored. The jokes that once entertained you now feel empty. The constant drama you once tolerated now drains your energy within minutes. Even some relationships that used to feel effortless now leave you emotionally unsettled. Stop dismissing these shifts as confusion. Your discernment is growing. I am opening your eyes to what no longer aligns with the peace I am building inside you. I know part of you wants to go back to how things used to feel because growth can feel lonely at first. Familiarity has comforted you for so long that change feels almost frightening. But listen carefully to me now. Do not shrink yourself just to fit back into environments that no longer nourish your spirit. Do not silence your growth to make others feel comfortable around you. Some people will not understand that change is happening inside you because they only knew the version of you that tolerated exhaustion, confusion, and emotional survival. You have spent too much time sitting at tables where your spirit quietly starved while everyone else looked satisfied. You kept trying to convince yourself that you could continue living in places that constantly emptied you. But your heart has become too aware now. You notice the tension faster. You feel the emotional weight quicker. You recognize when your peace begins slipping away. That awareness is not weakness, my child. That awareness is wisdom finally waking up inside you. So stop forcing yourself to remain connected to environments that no longer carry life for your soul. Step back from what keeps disturbing your peace. Give yourself permission to outgrow spaces that once felt familiar. Growth often feels uncomfortable before it feels freeing, but do not run back to old patterns simply because they are familiar. Take my hand and move forward slowly if you need to. Breathe through the transition. Trust the discomfort instead of fearing it. I am not removing comfort from your life to punish you. I am leading you toward healthier ground where your spirit no longer has to survive on emotional leftovers. The future waiting for you cannot fully open while you keep trying to squeeze yourself back into places you were meant to leave behind. My child, I know one of the deepest fears hiding inside your heart is the fear of being alone. That fear has influenced more decisions than you realize. It is the reason you kept holding on to people long after the connection stopped feeling healthy. It is why you tolerated emotional inconsistency, silence, distance, and confusion while convincing yourself that something was better than nothing. You kept choosing familiar pain because the thought of emptiness frightened you more than the exhaustion you were already carrying. Come sit with me honestly for a moment. You have called certain relationships love simply because they prevented you from feeling abandoned. But deep inside, you were still lonely. You were lonely while waiting for replies that barely came. Lonely while overthinking conversations that should have brought peace. Lonely while begging inwardly for reassurance you rarely receive. Being surrounded by people does not always protect the heart from loneliness. Some of your deepest loneliness happened while you were still emotionally attached to someone. I need you to stop believing that your worth depends on who stays beside you. Your value has never been measured by someone's ability to choose you consistently. Yet you keep chasing approval from people who only give you fragments of attention. You have become so afraid of losing others that you forgot how much of yourself you have already been losing in the process. Take a deep breath and listen carefully now. Solitude is not the same as abandonment. There is a difference between being alone and being disconnected from your own peace. Right now, your spirit needs quiet more than it needs forced companionship. You need room to hear your own thoughts without constantly carrying everyone else's emotions inside your chest. You need space to remember who you are when you are no longer fighting to keep people from leaving. Do not rush to fill every silence with distractions. Do not run back toward unhealthy connections simply because the quiet feels unfamiliar. Sit with me here instead. Let your heart settle. Let your nervous mind slow down. Allow yourself to discover that peace can still exist even when certain people are no longer present in your life. You are not abandoned, my child. You are being untangled from emotional dependencies that have kept your spirit exhausted for far too long. The loneliness you fear will not destroy you. In fact, this season may become the very place where your heart finally learns what safety, clarity, and rest truly feel like. Stay close to me through this transition. I will not leave you empty while you are learning how to let go. My child, I need you to open your eyes gently to something your heart has avoided confronting for a long time. There are people in your life who became comfortable receiving your energy, your kindness, your patience, and your support, without ever truly caring for your heart in the same way. You kept calling it loyalty because you wanted to believe the connection was deeper than it actually was. But if you look honestly at the weight you have been carrying, you will see how often you were the one holding everything together while quietly running empty inside. You became the safe place for everyone else while having nowhere to rest yourself. People came to you when they were hurting, confused, lonely, or overwhelmed because they knew you would listen. They knew you would show up. They knew your heart would make room for them even when your own spirit was exhausted. But when your pain became too heavy, many of those same people suddenly became unavailable, distant, distracted, or uncomfortable with your honesty. That imbalance has wounded you more deeply than you admit. Come closer and stop ignoring how emotionally tired you have become. You were not created to exist only as support for everyone around you. You were not created to pour endlessly into people who only notice your value when you are useful to them. Some relationships survive because of what you provide, not because of who you are. The truth hurts your heart because you genuinely loved these people. You believe the care flowed both ways. But now your spirit is beginning to recognize the difference between being appreciated and being depended on. I want you to pay attention to something important. Notice who disappears when you stop overextending yourself. Notice who becomes frustrated when you begin protecting your peace. Some people were comfortable with your exhaustion because it benefited them emotionally. The moment you began setting boundaries, the relationship started shifting. Do not ignore what that reveals. Please stop convincing yourself that you must constantly earn your place in people's lives. Real love does not require you to prove your worth through endless emotional labor. Healthy relationships do not survive only when one person keeps sacrificing their peace to maintain them. I want you to release the pressure to carry everyone else while neglecting your own soul. Step back for a moment and breathe. Let yourself rest without guilt. Allow your heart to experience relationships where care flows naturally instead of constantly feeling one-sided. You do not need to become cold or distant. Keep your heart compassionate, but stop offering unlimited access to people who repeatedly leave you emotionally depleted. I am teaching you how to recognize relationships built on genuine connection instead of constant usefulness. Trust what your spirit has been trying to show you. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not only for what you give. My child, even now I am exposing what has drained your spirit, and I am calling you into relationships and assignments that carry eternal weight. You are the light of the world is my living word over you, and I am asking you to help that light reach those still hidden in emotional exhaustion. I am the one who sees your giving, and I am also the one who multiplies it into impact far beyond what you imagine. Will you partner with me now to make sure this message reaches the broken, the used, and the forgotten? Through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, you are sowing into restoration of hearts I am gathering back to myself. I declare over you that as you give, I will break every cycle of emotional depletion in your own life. I will replace what was one-sided with divine overflow and uncommon favor. Now move in obedience, sow into this word, and watch me turn your obedience into a testimony. My child, you have carried too much guilt for too many endings that were never completely your fault. You keep revisiting old conversations, wondering if different words could have changed the outcome. You replay situations in your mind late at night, searching for mistakes, questioning your reactions, and quietly convincing yourself that maybe you were too emotional, too difficult, or too much to handle. But I need you to stop turning every heartbreak into evidence against yourself. Come sit with me honestly for a moment. Some relationships ended because you finally became tired of abandoning your own peace just to keep someone close. Some endings happened because your spirit could no longer survive inside cycles that kept hurting you. You stayed longer than most people would have. You gave understanding after disappointment. You kept offering patience while carrying pain nobody fully noticed. Yet somehow, when everything fell apart, you immediately placed the blame on your own shoulders. That habit has wounded your heart deeply. You became so used to carrying emotional responsibility for everyone that you forgot relationships involve two hearts, not one. You cannot fix disconnection alone. You cannot force honesty, effort, care, or emotional maturity from people who are unwilling to offer those things consistently. Still, you kept trying. You kept stretching yourself thinner, hoping your love would eventually repair what both people were supposed to protect together. I want you to release the burden of believing every ending means you failed. Some people walked away because they were unwilling to grow alongside the changes happening inside you. Some relationships cracked because truth finally exposed unhealthy patterns that could no longer stay hidden. That does not mean your love was worthless. It does not mean your heart was too complicated to understand. Look back carefully and notice how often you silenced your own needs to avoid conflict. Notice how many times you accepted less than what your spirit truly needed because you feared losing someone. You called it compromise, but many times it was self-neglect. I never wanted you to disappear inside relationships just to keep them alive. Take a deep breath now and stop carrying shame that does not belong to you. You are allowed to outgrow painful patterns. You are allowed to leave situations that continuously damage your peace. You are allowed to protect your emotional health without feeling selfish for it. I know your heart still grieves certain endings, and that grief is real. But do not let sadness convince you that you were the sole reason things fell apart. Some relationships end because they have already reached the limit of what they were capable of becoming. Trust me with the pieces you cannot fix anymore. Lay down the guilt you keep dragging behind you. I am not asking you to harden your heart. I am asking you to stop punishing yourself for finally recognizing what your spirit could no longer endure. My child, I need you to stop ignoring the quiet signals your spirit has been sending you for so long. Deep inside, you already knew something was wrong long before the situation fully collapsed. You felt uneasy in conversations that once brought comfort. You noticed how your peace disappeared around certain people even when nothing obvious was happening. Your body became tense before messages arrived. Your thoughts grew restless after simple interactions. Yet you kept convincing yourself that you were overthinking, being too sensitive, or imagining things that were not there. Come closer and listen carefully to me now. I placed discernment inside you for a reason. Your spirit recognizes what your emotions sometimes tried to deny. But because you wanted things to work so badly, you kept silencing those warnings. You kept choosing hope over honesty. You kept trying to preserve connections that were quietly damaging your peace. I watched you ignore exhaustion because you feared what the truth might require you to release. You became so focused on avoiding loss that you stopped paying attention to how deeply your heart was suffering. That heaviness inside you was not random. The constant confusion was not something you were meant to normalize. Healthy love does not keep your spirit trapped in endless anxiety. Real connection does not leave you emotionally drained every time you walk away from a conversation. I need you to stop dismissing the discomfort your soul keeps trying to bring to your attention. Sit with me honestly for a moment and think about how many times your spirit warned you before your mind accepted reality. You noticed patterns early. You sensed distance before words confirmed it. You felt emotional imbalance before anyone admitted it openly. But your heart kept searching for excuses because letting go felt terrifying. I understand why this happened. You love it deeply. You wanted peace. You hoped patience would eventually heal what honesty kept exposing. But now I am asking you to trust what your spirit has been trying to show you. Stop overriding your discernment just to maintain temporary comfort. Stop forcing yourself to stay connected to people who continuously disturb your peace. Pay attention to what happens inside you when you are around certain environments. Notice how your energy changes. Notice how your joy fades. Your spirit speaks widely, but it speaks truthfully. Take a breath now and allow yourself to stop fighting what you already know deep inside. You do not need dramatic proof before protecting your peace. Sometimes your spirit recognizes danger long before your eyes fully see it. Trust me enough to listen this time. Walk away from what constantly unsettles your heart. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose peace over emotional survival. I am not trying to take love away from you, my child. I am trying to keep your spirit from slowly breaking under weight it was never designed to carry forever. My child, I know part of you still feels guilty for pulling away. You keep wondering whether letting go somehow cancels the love you once carried so sincerely in your heart. That thought has been hurting you quietly because you never wanted to become cold, distant, or uncaring. Even after everything had happened, you still remember the moments that felt beautiful between you. You remember the laughter, the closeness, the feeling that maybe this person would remain in your life forever. That is why releasing them feels so painful inside you. Come sit with me for a moment and let me ease the weight you have been carrying. Letting go does not erase the love you gave. It does not mean the memories were fake. It does not mean your heart was foolish for caring deeply. Some connections are real and still not meant to last forever. The truth is difficult for you because you associate endings with failure. But not every goodbye is proof that love was meaningless. You loved honestly, my child. You showed patience in moments when walking away would have been easier. You stayed during difficult seasons because your heart believed in loyalty. But there comes a point where holding on begins harming your spirit more than helping the relationship. Love should not require you to constantly betray your own peace just to keep another person close. You were not created to spend your life carrying relationships entirely on your shoulders while your own heart slowly grew exhausted. I need you to stop romanticizing pain simply because genuine feelings once existed there. Some people can be deeply important to you and still no longer belong in your future. That does not make your love less real. It simply means the relationship stopped growing in healthy ways. You can appreciate what once existed while still recognizing what it became later. Mature love understands the difference between honoring memories and remaining trapped inside them. Release the guilt that keeps telling you that walking away means you did not care enough. Sometimes letting go is the most honest thing a person can do. Staying connected while your spirit keeps breaking is not love. Constant emotional suffering is not proof of devotion. I never asked you to destroy yourself trying to preserve relationships that no longer protect your peace. Take a deep breath and open your hands slowly now. You do not need to hate someone to release them. You do not need bitterness in your heart to move forward. Let them go with honesty. Let them go with grace. Carry the lessons without chaining yourself to the pain. I will help your heart heal without turning hard. I will teach you how to remember people without losing yourself trying to hold on to what no longer carries life for your spirit. My child, I know how many times you stood in front of closed doors asking me why things did not work out the way you wanted. You prayed for certain relationships to return. You begged for conversations to be repaired. You waited for people to choose you the way you kept choosing them. And when nothing changed, your heart quietly filled with disappointment. You thought the silence meant I was ignoring you. But I need you to understand something gently today. Some doors stayed closed because I could already see the pain waiting behind them. You keep looking at what you lost, but I keep looking at what would have happened if I allowed certain things to continue. I saw the exhaustion already building inside you long before you admitted how tired you were becoming. I saw the emotional confusion you kept trying to normalize. I saw how much of yourself you were sacrificing just to keep certain people near you. You called it love, but your spirit was slowly breaking under the pressure of carrying relationships that no longer protected your peace. Come closer and stop fighting so hard to reopen what I already removed from your path. You keep asking for access to things that were draining your confidence, disturbing your rest, and weakening your sense of worth. I know your heart remembers the good moments. I know part of you still imagines different outcomes. But I also know the hidden patterns you kept excusing because your fear of loss was louder than your discernment. There are people you wanted to keep who would have eventually shattered your peace even further. There are situations you begged me to restore that would have deepened your emotional wounds later. I blocked certain returns because I love you too much to hand you back to environments that kept teaching your heart to survive instead of truly live. Please stop measuring closed doors as rejection. Sometimes a closed door is protection wrapped in disappointment. Sometimes unanswered prayers become the very thing that saves your future. Right now you cannot fully see the damage I prevented because your heart is still attached to what felt familiar. But trust me long enough to believe that I do not remove things carelessly from your life. Breathe for a moment and release the need to force what no longer flows naturally. Stop knocking endlessly on doors that continue bringing confusion into your spirit. Let your hands loosen their grip on what keeps slipping away. I am not trying to leave you empty. I am guiding you away from connections and situations that would have slowly stolen your peace piece by piece. Walk with me instead of running back toward what already wounded you. Trust my silence when I say no. Trust my protection even when it hurts your feelings at first. One day you will look back at the doors that never opened and realize I was rescuing your heart from pain you could not yet see coming. My child, I am the one who closes doors no human can reopen, and I do it to shield you from what you cannot yet see. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, and even now I am writing those plans through the very delays you questioned. I am asking you to trust me enough not only to receive this word, but to extend it into the lives of others still mourning what I have removed. Will you help me carry this message of protection to those who think my silence means abandonment? Sow into this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, and I will turn your seed into preservation over your future. Every offering given in faith becomes a wall of divine protection around your life. I will repay you with peace that cannot be shaken and doors that open at the appointed time. And I will obey my instruction, give, and trust that what I closed was never meant to destroy you but to deliver you. My child, I need you to lay down a burden you were never created to carry. You have spent so much of your life trying to rescue people from their pain, their confusion, their bad decisions, and their emotional chaos that you barely noticed how exhausted your own spirit has become. Your heart is compassionate, and that compassion is beautiful, but somewhere along the way you began believing that love meant fixing everyone around you even while your own soul quietly struggled to breathe. You keep staying too long in draining relationships because you convince yourself that if you leave, people will fall apart without you. You keep answering every emotional emergency, calming every storm, carrying every heavy conversation, and trying to heal wounds that do not belong to you. But listen carefully to me now. You are not responsible for saving people who refuse to heal themselves. Love cannot force transformation onto someone who keeps choosing the same destructive patterns. Come sit with me honestly and look at how much this has cost your heart. You became the safe place for people who never learned how to become safe for you in return. You carried their fears, their anger, their instability, and their emotional needs while neglecting your own healing. Every time you tried to step back, guilt pulled you back in again. You worried that protecting your peace made you selfish. But my child, constantly sacrificing your emotional well-being is not the same thing as love. I know why you do this. You hate watching people suffer. You see potential in others even when they keep harming themselves and those around them. You keep hoping your patience, support, and loyalty will eventually change them. But some people do not want healing yet. They only want comfort while staying exactly the same. And while you keep pouring yourself into their chaos, your own spirit grows weary and empty. Please stop carrying responsibilities that belong to other people's choices. You cannot heal someone by abandoning yourself. You cannot rescue everyone from consequences they refuse to learn from. At some point, people must decide whether they want peace badly enough to pursue it honestly for themselves. Take a breath now and release the pressure to constantly save everyone around you. Step back from relationships where your role has become emotional survival support instead of genuine connection. Allow yourself to care without carrying people on your shoulders. There is a difference. I want your heart compassionate, but I also want it protected. I want you loving, but not emotionally destroyed in the process. Trust me enough to let people face the realities they keep avoiding. Some lessons cannot be learned through your sacrifice. They can only be learned through their own choices. Come rest with me now, my child. Put down the emotional weight you keep trying to carry for everyone else. You were never meant to save the world by losing yourself. My child, I need you to pay close attention to what changed the moment you began protecting your peace. Some people were comfortable with you only when you stayed available at all times, agreed with everything, and ignored your own emotional limits to keep them comfortable. The moment you started saying no, asking for honesty, or stepping back to care for your own spirit, their attitude toward you shifted. That change confused you because you thought love would deepen when you finally became honest about your needs. Instead, you were met with distance, frustration, or guilt. Come closer and let me show you something your heart has been struggling to accept. There are people who loved your constant availability more than they loved the real you. They were attached to the version of you that overextended yourself, stayed silent about pain, and sacrificed your peace to avoid conflict. As long as you carried the emotional weight quietly, everything felt smooth. But the moment you stopped abandoning yourself to keep the relationship comfortable, tension surfaced immediately. You began questioning yourself after setting boundaries because you are not naturally selfish. You genuinely care about people. That is why saying no feels uncomfortable to you. But my child, boundaries are not cruelty. Boundaries are wisdom. They reveal who respects your heart and who only enjoyed unrestricted access to your energy. Some people became upset not because you changed into someone harsh, but because they could no longer benefit from your exhaustion the same way. I know how painful this realization feels. You wanted relationships where honesty could exist safely. You hoped people would understand your need for rest, clarity, and emotional balance. Instead, some people made you feel guilty for protecting your spirit. They acted as though your healing inconvenienced them. They expected you to remain endlessly understanding while your own needs stayed ignored in the background. Stop apologizing for needing peace. Stop explaining yourself repeatedly to people who only value you when you make life easier for them. Healthy love does not punish you for having emotional limits. Real connection does not disappear the moment you stop overgiving. I need you to release the fear that protecting your heart will make everyone leave. The people who truly belong in your life will not require you to destroy yourself just to keep the relationship functioning. Take a breath now and stand firmly in the boundaries your spirit has been trying to build. Speak honestly. Rest when you need to. Step away from situations that constantly drain you. You do not need to become cold to become healthy. I am teaching you how to love people without losing yourself in the process. Trust me with the relationships that shift when you finally choose peace. Some people were attached to your sacrifice, not your soul. Let the truth free you instead of breaking you. My child, I know why letting go has felt almost impossible for you. You were not only attached to the relationship itself, you became attached to the future you imagined it could become. Your heart built beautiful possibilities around people who only gave you small glimpses of what you hoped they would eventually grow into. You kept holding on to moments that felt promising while quietly ignoring patterns that repeatedly wounded your spirit. That is why your grief feels so deep now. You are mourning the dream as much as the reality. Come sit with me honestly for a moment and look at what your heart has been carrying. You kept telling yourself that things would improve with time. You believed better communication, more patience, or greater understanding would eventually transform the relationship into something safe and stable. Every small act of kindness became proof that maybe things were finally changing. But in between those moments, your peace kept disappearing. Your heart kept feeling anxious. Your spirit kept growing tired. I need you to stop confusing potential with consistency. Someone showing occasional care is not the same as building a healthy relationship with you. Your heart became attached to the possibility of who they could become while your spirit quietly suffered from who they repeatedly showed themselves to be in reality. You kept surviving on emotional breadcrumbs while imagining a feast that never truly arrived. This is why your healing feels complicated. Part of you is still waiting for the version of them you hoped would finally appear. But my child, you cannot build your life around imagined futures while ignoring present pain. Love grounded only in potential eventually turns into exhaustion because your heart stays trapped between reality and fantasy. You deserve relationships where care exists clearly, not relationships where you must constantly search for signs that you matter. Please stop blaming yourself for struggling to release what never fully became what you hoped for. Your grief is real because your hope was real. You invested emotionally in a future that felt meaningful to you. But now I need you to open your hands slowly and release the version of the story that only existed inside your imagination. Take a deep breath and let truth settle gently inside your heart. The relationship you keep mourning may never have fully existed in the way you believed it did. That realization hurts, but it also frees you. It frees you from waiting endlessly for people to become emotionally available, consistent, or honest when their actions repeatedly revealed otherwise. Come closer to me now, and allow reality to guide your healing instead of fantasy. Stop feeding your spirit with imagined possibilities, while your real emotional needs stay neglected. I am leading you toward relationships where love will not constantly leave you guessing, hoping, or emotionally starving for clarity. My child, I need you to stop believing that constant emotional pain is proof of deep love. Somewhere along your journey, you began confusing suffering with loyalty. You started measuring the value of relationships by how much hurt you were willing to endure to keep them alive. That belief has exhausted your spirit more than you realize. You kept telling yourself that if you stayed patient long enough, tolerated enough disappointment, and carried enough emotional weight, things would eventually become peaceful. But instead of finding rest, you found yourself trapped inside cycles that slowly drained your joy. Come closer and listen carefully to me now. I never asked you to destroy yourself to prove your love for someone. I never called you to remain inside situations where your peace constantly disappears. Yet you kept romanticizing the struggle because your heart wanted the relationship to survive so badly. You told yourself that love was supposed to be hard all the time. You convinced yourself that confusion, anxiety, and emotional instability were simply part of caring deeply for another person. But my child, there is a difference between walking through temporary hardship together and living in ongoing emotional survival. I watched you normalize things that quietly wounded your spirit. You accepted inconsistency because you feared losing connection. You excused behavior that left you crying in silence afterward. You carried disappointment after disappointment while still hoping the next moment would finally feel different. Your heart became so focused on preserving love that you stopped noticing how much pain you were calling normal. Please stop glorifying relationships that continuously leave you emotionally depleted. Stop telling yourself that your suffering is noble while your spirit grows weaker underneath the weight. Healthy love does not constantly leave you questioning your worth. Real care does not require endless emotional recovery after every interaction. I want you to understand this deeply. Peace is not boring. Stability is not weakness. You do not need chaos to feel emotionally connected to someone. Take a breath now and step away from the idea that love must always hurt to be meaningful. Some pain in life teaches you, but ongoing emotional exhaustion is not something I want you to remain trapped inside forever. You deserve relationships where your heart can finally rest instead of constantly preparing for the next disappointment. Sit with me for a moment and release the belief that enduring suffering makes you more lovable, more loyal, or more valuable. I am not impressed by how much pain you can tolerate while your spirit slowly breaks. I care about your healing. I care about your peace. Let me teach you how to recognize love that nourishes your soul instead of consuming it. Stop chasing relationships that feel like storms without shelter. Walk toward the peace your heart has been waiting for all along. My child, I am breaking the lie that pain is proof of love, and I am calling you into the freedom of my peace. My peace I give to you, not as the world gives, is what I speak over you even now, cutting through every cycle of emotional exhaustion. I am inviting you to help me spread this truth to those still believing that suffering is sacred when it is actually destroying them. Will you stand with me and help carry this revelation across lives still trapped in emotional survival? Through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, you are sowing into liberation for hearts I am awakening. I declare that as you give, I will restore your joy and teach your spirit what safe love feels like again. I will replace heaviness with clarity and confusion with divine rest. Now act on my voice, sow into this message, and let freedom multiply through your obedience. My child, I need you to start protecting your peace with the same seriousness you once used to protect relationships that were slowly hurting you. You have spent too much time handing your emotional stability over to people who treated your heart carelessly. Every time your spirit began feeling unsettled, you ignored it because you did not want to disappoint anyone or risk losing the connection. But now your soul is tired. Your mind is tired. Your heart has been carrying tension for so long that peace almost feels unfamiliar to you. Come sit with me quietly for a moment and pay attention to what happens inside you around certain people. Notice how quickly your thoughts become heavy. Notice how your body tightens before difficult conversations even begin. Notice how your joy disappears after interactions that leave you emotionally drained for hours or even days afterward. Those signs matter more than you realize. Your peace is not something small. It is one of the clearest ways your spirit recognizes what is healthy and what is harming you. You kept gambling your peace away hoping relationships would eventually improve. You stayed available to people who repeatedly brought confusion into your heart. You tolerated emotional inconsistency because you feared the loneliness that might follow if you walked away. But my child, losing your peace piece by piece is far more dangerous than temporary loneliness. A restless heart cannot heal properly while constantly surrounded by emotional chaos. I want you to stop treating your inner calm like something disposable. Protect it. Guard it carefully. Step back from environments that repeatedly steal it from you. You do not owe unlimited access to people who constantly leave your spirit unsettled. Listen to the quiet discomfort your soul keeps trying to show you instead of silencing it out of fear. Take a deep breath now and allow yourself to imagine a life where your heart no longer feels trapped in constant emotional survival. Imagine conversations that do not leave you anxious afterward. Imagine relationships where honesty feels safe instead of frightening. Imagine waking up without carrying the emotional weight of trying to keep everyone else comfortable at the expense of yourself. That peace is not impossible for you, my child. It is part of the life I want to lead you toward. Stop chasing connections that repeatedly disturb your spirit. Stop sacrificing your emotional health to maintain temporary closeness with people who continuously ignore your heart. Come closer to me instead. Let your soul rest here for a while. Your peace is precious. It is not weakness. It is not selfishness. It is direction. And I need you to stop gambling it away for relationships that constantly leave your heart feeling unsafe. My child, I know how badly your heart wants closure. You keep hoping for one final conversation that explains everything clearly. You want honesty. You want acknowledgement. You want someone to finally admit the ways they hurt you so your heart can stop carrying unanswered questions into every quiet moment of your life. Part of you believes healing cannot fully begin until they understand your pain and speak the words you have been waiting to hear. But I need you to listen carefully to me now. Some people will never give you the closure your heart keeps searching for. You have spent too much time standing emotionally still, waiting for explanations from people who are unwilling to face the damage they caused. You replay old situations in your mind searching for hidden meaning. You analyze conversations over and over, hoping something will suddenly make sense. But instead of finding peace, your thoughts become more tangled. Your spirit grows heavier because your healing has become attached to someone else's willingness to take responsibility. Come closer and breathe for a moment. I need you to stop giving other people control over your ability to move forward. Closure is not always found through perfect conversations. Sometimes closure comes quietly through acceptance. Sometimes it arrives the moment you stop chasing answers that another person is emotionally unwilling to provide. Their silence may hurt you deeply, but do not let it imprison your future. I know your heart keeps asking why they changed, why they became distant, or why they handled your pain so carelessly. Those questions are real, but some people lack the emotional maturity to explain themselves honestly. Others avoid accountability because facing the truth would require them to confront parts of themselves they would rather ignore. That is not your burden to carry anymore. Please stop reopening wounds trying to force understanding from people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop begging for emotional clarity from hearts that keep offering confusion instead. Your peace cannot survive if your healing depends entirely on someone else finally saying the right words. I need you to release the exhausting hope that one conversation will magically erase the damage you have already lived through. Take a deep breath now and let the truth settle gently inside you. Their inability to give closure does not erase your worth. Their silence does not make your pain imaginary. You already live the reality your heart keeps trying to deny. The patterns, the distance, the inconsistency, the emotional exhaustion, those things already revealed what words refuse to confirm. Come walk with me now instead of standing at the locked door of unanswered questions. Let me teach your heart how to heal without needing permission from the people who hurt you. Some endings never come with explanations wrapped neatly around them. But even without closure from them, I can still bring peace to you. My child, part of the reason certain relationships feel so difficult right now is because you are no longer the same person you used to be. Your spirit has changed in ways you may not fully recognize yet. You have grown through pain, disappointment, loneliness, and quiet battles that reshaped how you see yourself and the world around you. But while your soul has been changing, part of you keeps trying to maintain connections built around versions of yourself that no longer truly exist. Come sit with me honestly and think about how much you have outgrown emotionally. There was a time when you tolerated treatment that now deeply unsettles your spirit. There was a time when you stayed silent to avoid conflict, ignored your own emotional needs, and accepted small pieces of affection because you feared losing people entirely. But your heart has become more aware now. You notice imbalance faster. You feel emotional exhaustion sooner. You recognize when your peace begins disappearing around certain environments and relationships. The problem is that some people still expect access to the older version of you. They expect the version that never said no. the version that over-explained, overgave, and carried everyone else's emotional weight without complaint. When you started changing, some relationships immediately became strained because your growth disrupted patterns they had grown comfortable with. Attention is not proof that you are becoming difficult. It is proof that your spirit no longer fits inside places that required you to shrink yourself emotionally. I need you to stop trying to resurrect old versions of yourself just to preserve relationships that no longer align with who you are becoming. You cannot continue healing while constantly returning to identities rooted in exhaustion, insecurity, and emotional survival. Your future requires a healthy version of you, not the one who kept sacrificing peace for temporary acceptance. Take a deep breath and release the pressure to remain who people expect you to be. Let yourself grow without apology. Allow yourself to become someone who values rest, honesty, emotional safety, and inner peace. That transformation may confuse people who only benefited from your old patterns, but do not let their discomfort stop your healing. Come closer to me now and leave behind the identities that kept your spirit trapped for too long. You are not losing yourself through this process. You are finally meeting the version of yourself that has been waiting underneath all the exhaustion. The old version of you survived many storms, but survival is not where your story ends. I am leading you toward wholeness now. Do not run backward simply because growth feels unfamiliar. Walk forward with me instead. Your spirit is ready for a life that no longer revolves around emotional survival. My child, I need you to look honestly at what your heart has been settling for. You have mistaken small moments of attention for deep love because your soul has been starving for reassurance for so long. A few kind words, an occasional check-in, brief moments of affection, and sudden bursts of closeness became enough to keep you emotionally attached even while your deeper needs remained neglected. You kept hoping those scattered moments meant something stable was growing, but your spirit continued feeling uncertain, anxious, and emotionally hungry underneath it all. Come closer and let me speak gently to the part of you that keeps clinging to inconsistency. Love should not leave you constantly wondering where you stand. Real care does not disappear the moment things become emotionally inconvenient. Yet you kept holding on to tiny fragments of affection while ignoring long stretches of distance, silence, confusion, and emotional absence. Your heart became so focused on the occasional warmth that you stopped recognizing how cold the relationship truly felt most of the time. I know why this happened. You wanted connection so badly that even temporary attention felt meaningful to you. Every small sign of care gave you hope that maybe things were finally changing. You replayed little moments in your mind because they helped you survive the larger emotional emptiness surrounding them. But my child, occasional kindness cannot sustain a healthy relationship. Your spirit needs consistency, honesty, emotional safety, and genuine effort. You cannot build peace on scattered moments that vanish as quickly as they appear. Please stop convincing yourself that you are asking for too much simply because you desire stable love. Wanting communication, reassurance, effort, and emotional presence does not make you needy. It makes you human. You have spent too long shrinking your needs to fit inside relationships that only offered partial care. Every time you accepted emotional crumbs, your heart quietly learned to expect less than what it truly deserved. Take a deep breath now and stop chasing temporary attention that keeps your spirit trapped in uncertainty. Notice how exhausted your mind becomes when affection only appears unpredictably. Notice how much emotional energy you spend trying to decode mixed signals and inconsistent behavior. Love was never meant to feel like solving a puzzle while your heart slowly breaks in the process. Come sit with me for a while and let your soul rest from constantly searching for signs that you matter. You matter already. You do not need to earn consistent love through endless patience and emotional endurance. I am leading you toward relationships where care will not arrive in tiny, unpredictable fragments, Stop starving your spirit while calling it love. Your heart was created for something steadier, gentler, and far more secure than this. My child, I am revealing the difference between crumbs of attention and the fullness of my love that never fades. I will never leave you, nor forsake you is not distant scripture. It is my living promise speaking over your longing heart right now. I am asking you to help me carry this truth to those starving for consistency in a world of emotional uncertainty. Will you partner with me and ensure this message reaches every soul mistaking attention for love? So through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, and I will turn your seed into healing for the brokenhearted. I will establish stability in your own life where instability once tried to rule. I will crown your obedience with peace that does not fluctuate with human behavior. Now obey my command. Give, and let me use your offering to teach others what true love really is. My child, I need you to stop feeling guilty every time you choose to protect your peace. You have spent so much of your life making room for other people's emotions that you barely learned how to guard your own heart. Whenever someone hurt you, disappointed you, or crossed boundaries that deeply affected your spirit, your first instinct was not protection. Your first instinct was understanding. You kept trying to explain away behavior that quietly wounded you because you feared being seen as cold, unforgiving, or difficult. Come closer and listen carefully to me now. Forgiveness does not require you to keep reopening doors that repeatedly harmed your spirit. You can release bitterness without offering unlimited access to people who consistently disturb your peace. Somewhere along the way, you began believing that being loving meant tolerating everything. But my child, wisdom and compassion belong together. I never ask you to abandon discernment just to appear kind. You keep giving people chances while your own heart grows more exhausted with every disappointment. You keep reopening conversations that leave you emotionally drained because part of you hopes things will finally become different. But protecting your heart is not selfishness. It is stewardship. Your spirit matters too. Your emotional safety matters too. I need you to stop treating your pain like something less important than everyone else's comfort. Think honestly about how many times you ignored your own boundaries just to avoid losing people. You stayed quiet when something deeply hurt you. You tolerated patterns that slowly damaged your confidence. You kept giving access to people who repeatedly mishandled your trust because you believed love meant endless tolerance. But look at what that has done to your spirit. You became emotionally tired, constantly anxious, and unsure whether your needs even deserved space anymore. Take a deep breath now, and let me free you from that guilt. You are allowed to step back from relationships that repeatedly leave you wounded. You are allowed to say no without apologizing endlessly afterward. You are allowed to create distance where your peace keeps disappearing. That does not make you unloving. It means your spirit is finally learning its value. Come sit with me and rest from the pressure of trying to save every relationship at the expense of yourself. I want your heart solved, but I also want it protected. Stop handing fragile parts of your spirit to people who repeatedly treat them carelessly. Learn to listen when your peace begins slipping away. Learn to honor the discomfort your soul feels instead of immediately silencing it. Your heart is precious, my child. Stop treating it like something that must survive endless hurt to prove its goodness. My child, I need you to recognize how certain people have kept your heart trapped in cycles you were supposed to outgrow long ago. Every time you begin healing, every time your spirit starts finding peace again, something pulls you backward emotionally. A conversation happens. A memory resurfaces. An old connection reappears. Suddenly your mind becomes restless again. Your heart grows heavy again. And the progress you fought so hard for feels fragile all over again. You keep calling it attachment, but much of what you are carrying is emotional bondage disguised as familiarity. Come sit with me quietly and look honestly at what these relationships have done to your spirit. Some people only know how to reconnect with you through confusion, inconsistency, guilt, or emotional intensity. They pull you back into old wounds every time you begin stepping toward peace. You keep reopening doors that leave your thoughts tangled because part of you still hopes things will finally become different. But your soul already recognizes the pattern. You feel drained afterward. You lose clarity afterward. You struggle to hear your own heart afterward. I need you to stop mistaking emotional chaos for meaningful connection. Just because someone can still affect your emotions does not mean they still belong in your future. Some people remain emotionally powerful in your life simply because unresolved pain keeps your heart attached to them. But unresolved attachment is not the same thing as healthy love. I want you to notice how much of your energy disappears every time you return to relationships that constantly reopen old wounds. Take a deep breath now and ask yourself honestly how long you have been carrying the same emotional cycles. You keep revisiting conversations that never truly change. You keep waiting for consistency from people who repeatedly show instability. Meanwhile, your spirit remains stuck between healing and heartbreak because you keep giving access to what keeps undoing your peace. Please stop romanticizing relationships that trap your growth emotionally. Some connections survive only because you continue feeding them your attention, your hope, and your emotional energy. But your future cannot fully open while your heart remains chained to patterns that repeatedly pull you backward. I need you to loosen your grip on what keeps keeping your spirit exhausted. Come walk with me now instead of running back toward familiar pain. Let yourself move forward without carrying every unfinished emotional attachment behind you. You do not owe endless access to people who repeatedly interrupt your healing. Choose freedom over emotional cycles. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose peace over temporary emotional intensity. Your life is waiting beyond this emotional attachment, my child. Stop staying trapped in relationships that only know how to revisit old pain. I am calling you into a season where your heart no longer survives in emotional circles, but finally moves forward in peace. My child, I need you to stop settling for affection that barely reaches your soul. You have spent too much time convincing yourself that small efforts, inconsistent care, and occasional attention were enough to sustain your heart. You lowered your expectations little by little because you feared that asking for more would push people away. So you accepted delayed replies, emotional distance, broken promises, and one-sided effort while quietly teaching yourself to survive on less than what your spirit truly needed. Come closer and let me speak honestly to the wounded part of you that keeps begging for scraps of love. You were never created to chase basic kindness from people who claim to care about you. You should not have to fight for honesty, wonder where you stand emotionally, or constantly question whether you matter to someone. Yet you kept shrinking your needs to avoid seeming difficult. You kept tolerating inconsistency because part of you believed receiving something was better than receiving nothing at all. But look at what this has done to your heart. You became emotionally exhausted trying to earn reassurance that should have been freely given. You celebrated tiny moments of effort because your soul had grown so deprived of stable affection. Every small act of attention felt powerful because you were emotionally starving. That is why you kept staying even when your spirit felt neglected most of the time. I need you to stop normalizing emotional deprivation. Healthy love does not leave you constantly anxious, overanalyzing every interaction, or waiting endlessly for someone to choose you properly. Real care does not make you feel guilty for having emotional needs. You are not needy for wanting consistency. You are not asking for too much when you desire honesty, effort, and emotional presence. Your heart deserves to feel safe, not constantly uncertain. Take a breath now and release the belief that you must earn love by overgiving, over-explaining, or endlessly proving your value. You do not need to exhaust yourself trying to convince someone to care deeply about you. The right relationships will not require you to beg for the bare minimum while calling it devotion. Come sit with me for a while and allow your standards to heal. Stop accepting half-hearted connections simply because loneliness scares you. Stop chasing people who only show up when it benefits them emotionally. Your spirit deserves relationships where love flows naturally instead of feeling rationed and unpredictable. I am teaching you how to recognize your worth beyond the inconsistent affection you became used to receiving. Let go of relationships that train your heart to survive on crumbs. I have more for you than emotional starvation disguised as love. My child, I need you to understand that the changes happening inside you are not accidental. Your spirit is evolving. Your heart is becoming more aware of what brings peace and what quietly destroys it. That is why some relationships suddenly feel difficult to maintain. The version of you that is emerging now cannot continue thriving in environments that were built around your old wounds, old fears, and old patterns of emotional survival. Come closer and notice what has shifted within you recently. Things you once tolerated now leave your spirit unsettled. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty and exhausting. You no longer find comfort in constant chaos, emotional games, or shallow connections that require you to ignore your own needs. Your soul has become tired of surviving inside relationships where you constantly overgive while receiving uncertainty in return. I know part of you feels guilty for changing. You worry that you are becoming distant, difficult, or harder to understand. But my child, growth always changes your tolerance. Healing changes what your spirit can comfortably remain attached to. The problem is not that you are becoming cold. The problem is that your heart can no longer pretend unhealthy patterns feel normal. Some people only knew the version of you that stayed quiet to keep peace. They became familiar with the version of you that accepted emotional inconsistency without complaint. Now that you are beginning to value your peace, set boundaries, and listen to your own spirit more carefully, certain relationships naturally feel strained. Do not panic when this happens. Not everyone can follow you into the healthier season I am preparing for your life. Take a deep breath and stop trying to shrink yourself just to maintain connections that no longer nourish your spirit. You cannot continue carrying old environments into a future that requires emotional clarity and healing. Some relationships survive only when you abandon yourself completely. That is not love. That is emotional survival disguised as connection. Come walk with me now and allow yourself to outgrow what no longer fits your spirit. Stop forcing conversations that leave you drained. Stop chasing approval from people who become uncomfortable whenever you choose peace over emotional chaos. Your future requires different surroundings, different conversations, and different emotional foundations than the ones your wounded self once accepted. I am not isolating you, my child. I am refining your environment so your healing can continue without constant interruption. Trust the discomfort that comes with growth. Trust the loneliness that sometimes appears while old connections fade. What I am building in your life now cannot fully flourish around people who only understood the exhausted version of you. Let yourself become who your spirit has been longing to become without apologizing for the changes that healing naturally creates. My child, as you step into the version of you I am forming within this season, do not miss how I use vessels to carry my voice into the lives of others. I am the God who calls you out of old places and into living waters, and I am asking you now to recognize the work I am doing through this message. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, you are not giving to man, you are sowing into the spread of my word across broken and searching hearts. Every seed becomes light in dark places, and I declare, let there be light over every life touched through your obedience. As it is written, Whoever refreshes others will themselves be refreshed, and I am releasing that refreshing over you now. I will multiply what you place in my hands, and I will guard your going out and your coming in as you align with my purpose. Do not hesitate. Step into this divine partnership and act now in faith. My child, I know silence has been uncomfortable for you lately. The moment certain people began leaving your life or becoming distant, your heart immediately feared loneliness. You started wondering whether something was wrong with you. You questioned whether you would always feel this empty whenever relationships changed. But I need you to understand something very important. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing, even though they can feel similar at first. Come sit with me quietly for a moment and listen carefully. Loneliness often grows when you are disconnected from your own peace. You can feel lonely even in crowded rooms, even while texting people all day, even while staying emotionally attached to someone. You already know this feeling. You experienced it while waiting for love that barely reached your heart. You experienced it while overthinking conversations and begging inwardly for emotional reassurance. Being surrounded by people never healed the emptiness because your spirit still felt unseen. But solitude is different. Solitude is where your soul begins breathing again after spending too long carrying emotional noise. It is where your thoughts slowly settle. It is where your identity stops depending on constant validation, attention, or emotional chaos. Right now, I am leading you into moments of quiet not to punish you, but to restore parts of your heart that exhaustion has covered for far too long. I know your instinct is to run from silence. You want distractions. You want conversations. You want someone nearby so you do not have to feel the discomfort rising inside you. But stay here with me instead. Do not rush to fill every empty space with people who only disturb your peace later. Let your spirit rest long enough to recognize who you are when you are no longer emotionally consumed by everyone else's needs. Take a deep breath now and allow yourself to stop fearing your own company. You are not abandoned because certain relationships faded. You are being given room to reconnect with yourself, with your healing, and with me. This quiet season may feel unfamiliar, but it is preparing your heart for healthier love and deeper peace than emotional survival ever could. Come closer and release the belief that being alone automatically means something is missing in your life. Some of the deepest healing happens when your spirit finally steps away from constant emotional confusion long enough to hear truth clearly again. Solitude is not emptiness, my child. It is sacred space where your weary heart can finally begin recovering from everything it carried for too long. My child, I need you to stop treating emotional confusion like something normal you simply have to endure. Your heart was not created to live in constant uncertainty, overthinking every interaction, questioning your worth after every conversation, and carrying anxiety into moments that should feel safe. Yet this has become familiar to you. You have spent so long trying to maintain relationships that leave your spirit unsettled that confusion started feeling like love to you. Come closer and be honest with yourself for a moment. Think about how often your mind feels exhausted because of certain people. You replay words repeatedly, trying to understand hidden meanings. You analyze silence. You search for reassurance in tiny gestures because consistency rarely exists long enough to calm your heart. Some days you feel deeply connected, and other days you feel emotionally abandoned without explanation. That instability has slowly worn down your spirit more than you realize. I never intended for your life to revolve around emotional survival. Love should not constantly pull your nervous system into fear and uncertainty. Real connection should not require endless guessing games just to feel secure. But because you feared losing people, you kept accepting confusion instead of peace. You kept hoping clarity would eventually appear if you stayed patient enough. Meanwhile, Your spirit became increasingly tired, carrying emotional tension that never fully resolved. Please stop ignoring the damage this confusion has created inside you. Your sleep has been affected. Your thoughts have become heavier. Your confidence has weakened in places where you once felt steady. You became so focused on preserving certain relationships that you stopped noticing how much chaos they were bringing into your inner world. My child, peace matters more than temporary emotional intensity. Take a deep breath now and stop forcing yourself to stay emotionally attached to situations that constantly steal your clarity. Healthy love does not leave you perpetually anxious about where you stand. Relationships built on honesty and care create stability, not endless emotional turbulence. I need you to stop romanticizing emotional unpredictability simply because moments of affection occasionally interrupt the confusion. Come sit with me quietly and let your heart rest from constantly trying to decode mixed signals. Release the need to chase understanding from people who continuously create uncertainty around you. Protect your spirit from environments where confusion keeps replacing peace. Your future cannot flourish while your emotional world remains trapped in instability. I am calling you toward relationships where your heart can breathe again without fear. Stop building your life around people who make peace feel impossible to maintain. Choose clarity. Choose honesty. Choose emotional safety. You deserve a life where your spirit no longer survives inside constant confusion, but finally learns how to rest again. My child, I need you to be careful about confusing someone's return with genuine transformation. There are people who suddenly reach back toward you the moment they feel your heart beginning to let go. When your attention shifts, when your peace slowly returns, when your energy is no longer fully available to them, they suddenly reappear with renewed interest, kind words, or temporary effort. That sudden closeness can feel emotionally overwhelming because part of you still longs for the connection you once hoped would become stable and safe. Come closer and listen carefully before your heart rushes backward again. Not every return is rooted in love. Some returns are rooted in comfort, control, loneliness, or fear of losing access to the care you once gave so freely. You have a tender heart, and because of that, small moments of attention quickly reopen emotional doors inside you. Someone reaches out, apologizes halfway, acts softer than before, or suddenly becomes emotionally available for a short time, and immediately your hope begins rising again. But my child, temporary effort is not the same thing as lasting change. I need you to pay attention to patterns instead of emotional moments. You have already experienced how quickly certain people can become distant again once they feel secure in your presence. The cycle repeats because your heart keeps responding to potential while ignoring consistency. That is why every return leaves you emotionally confused afterward. Part of you wants to believe this time will finally be different, while another part of your spirit quietly remembers the exhaustion you already survived before. Take a breath and slow your emotions down before reopening doors that took you so long to close. Ask yourself honestly whether their return brings peace or simply reactivates emotional chaos inside you. And notice how quickly your mind becomes restless again. Notice how your spirit begins overanalyzing every interaction the moment they re-enter your life. Your body remembers pain even when your heart desperately wants reconciliation. Please stop assuming every return is a sign that you should reconnect. Some people return because your absence disrupted their comfort, not because they truly change. Real growth reveals itself through consistency, accountability, honesty, and emotional maturity over time, not through sudden emotional moments that disappear as quickly as they arrived. Come sit with me before making decisions your heart may regret later. Let your spirit settle long enough to see clearly instead of reacting from loneliness or unresolved attachment. You do not need to reopen every door simply because someone knocks again. Protect the healing you fought so hard for. Guard the peace you are finally beginning to recover. I am teaching you discernment now, my child. Not every return deserves renewed access to your heart. My child, I need you to stop pretending that your silence never wounded you. You became so focused on keeping peace with others that you solely lost peace within yourself. Every time something hurt you deeply, you swallowed your feelings instead of expressing them honestly. You stayed quiet because you feared conflict. You feared rejection. You feared becoming difficult in someone else's eyes. So you convinced yourself that enduring pain silently was the mature thing to do. But your heart has been carrying the weight of those unspoken emotions for far too long. Come sit with me honestly for a moment and think about how many times you ignored your own needs just to preserve a relationship. You stayed calm while your spirit felt overwhelmed. You smiled while carrying disappointment nobody noticed. You accepted treatment that deeply unsettled you because part of you believed your feelings would only create distance if you voiced them. But my child, constantly silencing your heart does not create real peace. It creates emotional loneliness. I saw every moment you wanted to speak but stopped yourself halfway. I saw every conversation where you downplayed your pain to make someone else more comfortable. You became skilled at minimizing your own emotional wounds because you were afraid honesty would push people away. But relationships that require you to suppress your truth in order to survive are already damaging your spirit. Please stop treating your emotions like burdens that must always stay hidden. Your feelings matter. Your pain matters. Your voice matters. You were never meant to carry relationships by abandoning yourself emotionally. Healthy love creates space for honesty, vulnerability, and emotional safety. Yet many times you kept sacrificing your truth just to avoid upsetting people who rarely protected your heart with the same care. Take a deep breath now and release the guilt attached to speaking honestly about what hurts you. You are not selfish for needing clarity. You are not dramatic for wanting emotional respect. Stop apologizing for having a heart that longs for consistency, understanding, and peace. The more you silence yourself, the more disconnected you become from your own spirit. Come closer to me now and let your heart rest from constantly performing emotional strength for everyone else. I do not want you carrying silent resentment while pretending everything feels fine. I want your healing to be honest. I want your relationships to allow truth instead of emotional suppression. You do not need to scream to be heard, my child. But you also do not need to disappear emotionally just to keep others comfortable. Speak gently. Speak honestly. Protect your peace while honoring your truth. Your silence has cost you enough already. Let your spirit breathe again without fear of being too much for the people who truly care about your heart. My child, I have heard every silent prayer you never spoke, and now I am calling you to become part of the voice that helps others break their silence too. I am the Lord who gives speech to the broken and courage to the quiet, and through this message I am reaching hearts still trapped in fear. When you support this work through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, you are helping my truth enter places where silence once ruled. Your seed becomes a river of healing, flowing into those who have forgotten how to speak, and I breathe life upon every act of obedience. The Lord has given me a tongue of the learned, and I declare that same boldness over you now. I will turn what you give into testimony, restoration, and open doors you cannot yet see. Do not hold back. Step forward and give now as I lead you. My child, I need you to stop believing the painful lie that you are too much to love properly. Too emotional, too sensitive, too caring, too expressive, too needy. Those words settled deeply into your heart because they were repeated in moments when all you truly wanted was reassurance, honesty, consistency, and emotional safety. Instead of receiving understanding, You were often made to feel like your needs were burdensome. Over time, you started shrinking yourself emotionally so people would stay. Come closer and listen carefully to me now. Your heart was never the problem. The problem was that you kept offering deep love to people who only knew how to handle shallow connection. You kept expecting emotional maturity from people who avoided vulnerability, accountability, and honest communication. Every time they failed to meet your needs, you turned the blame inward and convinced yourself you were asking for too much. But my child, wanting reassurance is not weakness. Wanting consistency is not need in it. Wanting to feel emotionally safe inside a relationship is not something you should apologize for. You became exhausted trying to act unaffected while carrying deep emotional wounds underneath your calm exterior. You taught yourself to ask for less because disappointment became so familiar. Yet even after lowering your expectations repeatedly, your spirit still felt neglected. I need you to stop punishing yourself for having a heart that feels deeply. Your sensitivity is not something shameful. It allows you to care sincerely, notice emotional shifts, and love with genuine compassion. The problem is not your depth. The problem is that you kept placing your heart in environments where emotional depth was mishandled, minimized, or ignored entirely. Take a breath now and release the pressure to become emotionally smaller just to fit inside unhealthy relationships. Stop dimming your needs so people who refuse to grow emotionally can remain comfortable around you. You deserve relationships where honesty is welcomed instead of avoided. You deserve connections where your emotions are handled with care instead of irritation. Come sit with me for a while and let me remind you who you are beneath all the rejection you internalized. You are not difficult to love because you desire real connection. You are not a burden because your heart longs for emotional consistency. Do not let people who lack the capacity to love you properly convince you that your spirit requires less care than it truly does. I created your heart with depth, my child. Stop treating the depth like a flaw. The right people will not make you feel guilty for needing reassurance, peace, honesty, and emotional presence. They will meet your heart with understanding instead of making you feel ashamed for feeling deeply. My child, I need you to release the exhausting hope that keeps chaining your heart to disappointment. You have spent too much time waiting for certain people to finally become emotionally honest, consistent, caring, or present in the ways your spirit desperately needed. You kept telling yourself that if you stayed patient long enough, loved deeply enough, or explained your feelings clearly enough, something inside them would finally change. But instead of receiving the peace you hoped for, you kept finding yourself trapped inside the same emotional cycles over and over again. Come closer and listen carefully to me now. You cannot build a healthy future around someone's potential while ignoring their repeated behavior in the present. Your heart keeps clinging to who they could become someday, but your spirit has already suffered under who they continue choosing to be right now. The tension is exhausting you. You keep waiting for clarity from people committed to inconsistency. You keep expecting emotional maturity from people who repeatedly avoid accountability. I know why your heart struggles to let go. You saw goodness in them. You believed their promises. You held on to moments where they seemed softer, more caring, more emotionally available. Those moments kept your hope alive. But my child, occasional tenderness cannot erase ongoing emotional instability. One good conversation cannot repair patterns that continue damaging your peace repeatedly. Please stop sacrificing your emotional health while waiting for people to become who they have consistently shown you they are unwilling to become. Real change reveals itself through steady action, honesty, accountability, and emotional effort over time. It does not appear briefly whenever they sense your distance growing before disappearing again once they feel secure in your attachment. Take a deep breath now and allow yourself to see reality clearly instead of constantly filtering it through hope. Hope becomes dangerous when it keeps you emotionally trapped inside situations that continuously wound your spirit. I do not want your heart surviving on promises while your peace slowly disappears underneath disappointment. Come sit with me for a while and release the pressure to keep fixing relationships that require another person's willingness to grow. You cannot force transformation onto someone who refuses to face their own patterns honestly. Stop carrying the emotional burden of trying to become enough for people who continue choosing inconsistency over genuine connection. Your heart deserves stability, my child. Your spirit deserves relationships where love is demonstrated clearly instead of endlessly delayed through excuses and temporary effort. Let go of the version of them your imagination keeps protecting. Accept what their actions have already revealed. I am not asking you to become bitter. I am asking you to become honest about what your spirit can no longer survive. My child, I need you to stop pretending you are stronger than the weight you have been carrying. Your spirit is tired. Your heart is tired. Your mind has been overwhelmed for so long that exhaustion has started feeling normal to you. You wake up emotionally drained before the day even begins because your soul has been carrying burdens it was never designed to hold continuously. Yet instead of resting, you keep pushing yourself to stay emotionally available for everyone around you. Come sit with me honestly for a moment and pay attention to what your exhaustion is trying to tell you. You have spent years carrying relationships, managing emotional tension, fixing misunderstandings, calming conflicts, and trying to hold broken connections together with exhausted hands. You became so focused on everyone else's needs that you stopped noticing how deeply neglected your own spirit had become. I saw every moment you wanted rest but felt guilty for stepping back. I saw every time your heart needed space, but you kept answering calls, replying to messages, and showing up emotionally because you feared disappointing people. Somewhere along the way, you began believing your worth depended on how much you could carry for others. But my child, constant emotional exhaustion is not a sign of love. It is often a sign that your boundaries have been ignored for too long. Please stop dismissing your weariness as weakness. Your body feels it. Your thoughts feel it. Even your spirit feels heavy in ways you struggle to explain. You cannot continue pouring endlessly into relationships that rarely refill your heart in return. You need rest. You need peace. You need room to breathe without constantly carrying everyone else's emotional chaos inside your chest. Take a deep breath now and give yourself permission to step back from what keeps draining you. Rest is not selfish. Silence is not abandonment. Choosing your peace does not make you uncaring. You were never meant to survive by constantly sacrificing your emotional health to keep everyone comfortable around you. Come closer to me and lay your exhaustion down here for a while. Stop running on emotional emptiness while pretending everything feels manageable. I want your spirit restored, not merely functioning. I want your heart healed, not constantly surviving one painful interaction after another. Listen carefully now. Some relationships feel heavy because they were never meant to be carried forever. Some emotional burdens feel crushing because they do not belong to you anymore. Let go of the pressure to save everything. Let go of the guilt attached to resting. Your soul cannot heal while constantly running on exhaustion. Stay here with me and allow your spirit to recover from all the weight it has been dragging for far too long. My child, I need you to prepare your heart for something honest. Letting go will hurt before peace finally settles inside you. I know part of you expected immediate relief once you started creating distance from the people and relationships that wounded you. But instead, you found yourself grieving unexpectedly. Memories returned at strange moments. Silence suddenly felt heavier than the chaos you were used to carrying. Your heart kept reaching backward even while your spirit knew moving forward was necessary. Come closer and do not run from this pain. Sit with me here for a moment instead of rushing back toward what already exhausted your soul. Healing is not always instant. Sometimes your heart must slowly release attachments it carried for years. You built routines around certain people. You tied your emotions, your hopes, your comfort, and parts of your identity to those connections. Even unhealthy attachment leaves an ache when it breaks apart. I need you to stop interpreting this pain as proof that you made the wrong decision. Grief does not always mean something belonged in your future forever. Sometimes grief simply means something mattered deeply to you. Your heart invested sincerely, and now it must untangle itself from patterns, memories, expectations, and emotional habits that once felt permanent. That process can feel overwhelming some days, but do not panic when the sadness rises. Do not confuse temporary loneliness with failure. You keep wanting to reopen doors simply because missing someone feels unbearable at times. But my child, missing people does not automatically mean reconnecting is healthy. Pain has a way of romanticizing what harmed you. Your heart remembers comfort before it remembers confusion. It remembers closeness before it remembers exhaustion. That is why you must stay close to me while your emotions settle. Your spirit already knows why you had to let go, even when your feelings try to pull you backward again. Take a deep breath now and allow yourself to grieve honestly without surrendering your healing. Cry if you need to. Sit quietly if you need to. Rest when your heart feels tired. But do not run back toward emotional chaos simply because healing feels uncomfortable in the beginning. Stay here long enough for peace to finally reach the deeper places inside you that constant survival kept covering. Come walk with me through this process slowly. I am not asking you to become emotionless overnight. I am asking you to trust that pain can exist temporarily while healing is still taking place underneath it. The ache you feel now will not last forever. Your spirit is learning how to live without carrying what was slowly destroying your peace. Hold my hand through the grief instead of fighting it alone. There is healing waiting on the other side of this release. My child, even in grief, I am building something eternal through every heart that chooses to stand with me in this work. I am the God who collects every tear, and I turn sorrow into harvest through the spreading of my word. When you give through Super Thanks membership, with a PayPal link in the video description, you are sowing into souls still in the valley of letting go, just like you. I declare, those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, and I release that promise over every seed you plant today. Your giving becomes oil for the wounded, and light for those walking through emotional night seasons. I will multiply your obedience and turn it into unexpected restoration in your own life as well. Do not delay. Place your seed now and trust my hand over what follows. My child, I know part of you still feels ashamed that certain relationships could not be saved. You keep looking back at the ending and quietly asking yourself whether you gave up too soon, whether you should have tried harder, or whether a stronger version of you could have somehow fixed everything. The guilt has followed you because you measure your worth by how much you can hold together. When something falls apart, you immediately assume you failed. Come closer and let me speak truth gently into that wounded place inside you. Not every ending is failure. Some endings happen because your spirit finally became honest about what it could no longer survive. You stayed longer than many people would have. You carried conversations that exhausted you. You forgave repeatedly. You tolerated emotional inconsistency while hoping things would improve. You kept fighting for peace even when your own heart was breaking quietly in the process. But my child, there comes a point where continuing to hold on to something unhealthy no longer reflects strength. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is release what keeps damaging your spirit. You were never meant to spend your entire life proving your loyalty by enduring constant emotional pain. Yet somewhere along the way, You began believing that walking away meant weakness while suffering endlessly meant love. I need you to stop romanticizing your ability to survive unhealthy situations. Endurance alone is not always wisdom. Remaining inside relationships that repeatedly destroy your peace does not make you noble. Sometimes letting go is the first truly healthy decision your exhausted heart has made in years. Take a deep breath now and stop carrying the burden of believing you were responsible for fixing everything alone. Relationships require mutual care, mutual honesty, and mutual effort. You cannot carry emotional connection entirely by yourself while another person remains unwilling to grow, communicate, or protect your heart consistently. That imbalance was never sustainable, no matter how deeply you cared. Come sit with me and release the pressure to keep resurrecting what repeatedly wounded you. You are not weak because you finally acknowledged your limits. You are not selfish because you became tired of emotional survival. Your spirit deserves rest too. Your peace deserves protection too. I know endings still hurt your heart, but do not let grief rewrite the truth. Some relationships end because they have already taught you what you needed to learn. Some people leave because they cannot follow you into the healthier season I am leading you toward. That is not failure, my child. That is transition. Walk forward with me now instead of standing endlessly in regret. Stop punishing yourself for choosing healing. You are not losing your future by letting go of what kept your spirit exhausted. You are finally making room for peace to enter your life honestly. My child, I need you to stop exhausting your spirit trying to hold on to people who continuously move away from your heart. You keep chasing conversations, chasing reassurance, chasing clarity, chasing emotional presence, while the people you are pursuing keep giving you less and less in return. Every time they pull away, your anxiety grows stronger. You begin overthinking everything, wondering what you did wrong, what changed, or how you can fix the distance forming between you. But come closer and listen carefully to me now. Love was never meant to feel like a constant pursuit where your heart keeps running after people who refuse to stand still long enough to truly meet you. You have spent too much time trying to convince people to value what you freely offered. You kept believing that if you remained patient enough, understanding enough, available enough, eventually they would recognize your worth and choose you fully. But my child, the right people will not require endless chasing to maintain genuine connection. Real care moves toward you too. Real love does not repeatedly leave your spirit begging for emotional consistency while calling it devotion. I know why this pattern has been so difficult to release. Every small moment of closeness gave your heart hope in. A kind message, a temporary emotional opening, a brief return of affection. Those moments felt powerful because your soul had become emotionally deprived. But temporary attention cannot heal the deeper exhaustion living inside you. Every cycle of distance and return slowly weakened your peace while keeping your heart emotionally dependent on uncertainty. Please stop running after people who continuously create confusion around your place in their lives. Stop forcing yourself into spaces where your presence is treated as optional until your absence becomes noticeable. You deserve relationships where care is clear, where effort is mutual, and where your spirit does not constantly feel like it must earn emotional security through overgiving. Take a deep breath now and slow your heart down. You do not need to chase what is genuinely meant for your life. What belongs in your future will not require you to abandon your peace just to maintain connection. Let people reveal their intentions through consistency instead of becoming trapped by temporary emotional moments that never truly last. Come sit with me for a while and release the fear that if you stop chasing, you will lose love forever. My child, love built only through pursuit eventually turns into exhaustion. I am calling you toward relationships where your heart can finally rest instead of constantly striving for reassurance. Stop running after people who keep teaching your spirit to survive on uncertainty. Let them go if they continue choosing distance over genuine connection. Trust me enough to believe that what is truly aligned with your life will meet you with the same care, effort, and emotional presence your heart has been giving away so freely all this time. My child, I know part of you still fears what life will feel like after fully letting go. You keep imagining emptiness. You keep wondering whether releasing certain people will leave your heart permanently lonely. That fear has kept your hands tightly wrapped around relationships that already exhausted your spirit long ago. But I need you to trust me now. What waits for you after this release is not emptiness. What waits for you is peace. Come closer and breathe for a moment instead of clinging so tightly to what keeps hurting you. Your heart has spent so long surviving emotional chaos that peace almost feels unfamiliar now. You became accustomed to uncertainty, overthinking, emotional tension, and inconsistency. Calmness started feeling strange because your nervous system learned to expect disappointment. But your spirit was never designed to live under constant emotional pressure forever. I want you to imagine what your life could feel like without carrying this heaviness every single day. Imagine waking up without anxiety tightening your chest before conversations even begin. Imagine no longer questioning your worth because someone else keeps offering inconsistent affection. Imagine your thoughts becoming quiet enough for your heart to finally rest. That peace is possible for you, my child, but you cannot fully receive it while holding on to relationships that repeatedly disturb your spirit. Please stop believing that suffering is safer than release. I know pain feels familiar right now, but familiar pain is still pain. You keep staying attached to emotional exhaustion because at least it feels known to you. Yet every day you remain trapped inside unhealthy attachment. Your spirit moves further away from the calmness it desperately needs. Take a deep breath now and loosen your grip slowly. You do not need to force yourself into instant healing. Just stop resisting the release I have been gently leading you toward. Let the relationship go. Let the false hope go. Let the emotional chaos go. Trust me enough to believe that your future does not depend on maintaining connections that continuously break your peace. Come walk with me into the quiet season ahead instead of running back toward emotional confusion. The silence may feel unfamiliar at first, but healing often begins there. Peace grows where chaos finally loses access to your heart. Rest grows where emotional survival finally ends. I am not taking love away from you, my child. I am removing what has been blocking your healing for far too long. On the other side of this release, your spirit will breathe differently. Your thoughts will settle differently. Your heart will begin recovering pieces of itself that constant exhaustion nearly destroyed. Stay close to me through this transition. Peace is waiting for you, even if your tired heart cannot fully imagine it yet. My child, I need you to stop reaching backward every time your heart becomes uncomfortable with change. You keep trying to carry old relationships, old memories, old emotional patterns, and old versions of yourself into a future that cannot fully grow while your spirit remains attached to what already ended. Part of you still believes that if you hold on tightly enough, you can preserve what once felt meaningful. But come closer and listen carefully to me now. Some things ended because your soul was never meant to live there forever. You have spent too much time emotionally revisiting places that already exhausted you. Your mind drifts backward into memories that feel safer than the uncertainty ahead of you. You remember moments of closeness and comfort while forgetting how much confusion, anxiety, and emotional heaviness also existed there. That is what attachment often does. It protects the familiar while hiding the pain that came with it. But your future cannot breathe while your hands remain wrapped around what keeps pulling your spirit backward. I know the past feels difficult to release because it carries pieces of your identity, your hope, and your emotional history. Certain people became deeply connected to how you saw yourself. Certain seasons shape your heart in powerful ways. But my child, not everything meaningful is meant to remain permanent. Some relationships were chapters, not destination. Some connections taught you lessons your spirit needed before continuing forward. Please stop trying to rebuild what your soul already outgrew. You keep reopening emotional doors because the unknown ahead feels frightening. Yet every time you return emotionally to what already broke your peace, your healing slows down again. You cannot fully receive the healthier life I am preparing while constantly turning around to mourn what no longer fits your spirit. Take a deep breath now and let your grip loosen slowly. Allow yourself to move forward without carrying every old attachment behind you. You do not need to erase memories to continue healing. You do not need bitterness to release the past. Simply accept that your future requires space your old attachments no longer allow. Come walk with me into what is ahead instead of standing endlessly inside what already ended emotionally long ago. Trust the new season even if it feels unfamiliar. Trust the quiet growth happening inside your spirit while old patterns fall away. I am not taking your past from you to leave you empty. I am teaching your heart how to stop living emotionally trapped inside places where peace could never fully stay. Your future needs room to breathe, my child. Stop filling it with attachments that belong to another season of your life. Open your hands. Lift your eyes forward. There is more waiting for you than the emotional weight you keep dragging behind you. My child, I am the God of your future, and I am calling you away from hesitation into divine alignment with what I am doing through this message. Every word you have heard is a bridge from the past into the destiny I am opening, and I am using willing hearts to carry this light further. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, you are planting into a field that will feed souls long after this moment passes. I speak now. Behold, I do a new thing, and I release new beginnings over every act of obedience. What you sow becomes strength for the weary and direction for the lost who are still looking back. I will honor your faith with clarity, provision, and doors that no resistance can shut. Do not remain on the edge. Act now and step into this divine flow. My child, I need you to hear this clearly because your heart has been afraid of changing in the wrong way. You worry that protecting your peace will eventually make you hard, distant, or emotionally closed off. After everything you have been through, part of you fears that letting go of people will slowly turn your heart cold. But come closer and listen carefully to me now. I am not asking you to stop loving. I am teaching you how to love without destroying yourself in the process. You have spent so much time giving people unlimited access to your heart that boundaries now feel unfamiliar to you. Every time you choose distance from something unhealthy, guilt rises inside you. You immediately wonder whether you are becoming selfish, unforgiving, or uncaring. But my child, wisdom is not cruelty. Protecting your spirit is not hatred. You can remain compassionate while still refusing to stay in relationships that continuously wound your peace. I know your heart still wants to help people. You still care deeply. Even after disappointment, betrayal, emotional neglect, and exhaustion, your instinct is still to understand others before protecting yourself. That tenderness inside you is beautiful, and I do not want you to lose it. But I also do not want your kindness becoming the very thing that keeps your spirit trapped inside cycles of pain. Please stop believing that love requires unlimited tolerance for emotional harm. Some people convinced you that setting boundaries meant rejecting them. Others made you feel guilty for stepping back when your spirit became exhausted. But healthy love respects limits. Healthy relationships do not demand your constant self-sacrifice in order to survive. Take a deep breath now and allow yourself to become wiser without becoming colder. Learn to recognize who handles your heart carefully and who only consumes your energy without protecting your peace in return. You do not need to shut everyone out to become emotionally healthy. You simply need discernment. You need balance. You need the courage to stop offering endless access to people who repeatedly mishandle your spirit. Come sit with me for a while and let your heart soften in safe places instead of hardening from constant disappointment. I am not asking you to stop caring about people. I am asking you to stop abandoning yourself while caring for them. There is a difference. Your kindness is still valuable, my child. Your compassion is still beautiful. But now I want your love guided by wisdom instead of emotional desperation. Let your heart remain gentle, but no longer unprotected. Let your spirit stay open, but no longer careless with who receives access to the deepest parts of you. My child, I need you to understand that some of the peace you have been praying for cannot fully enter your life while your heart remains buried beneath emotional weight that was never meant to stay this long. You keep asking me for clarity, healing, rest, and joy, but at the same time you continue carrying relationships that drain your spirit every day. Your soul has become so accustomed to heaviness that you barely remember what emotional freedom feels like anymore. Come closer and let me show you something gently. The exhaustion you feel is not only coming from what happened to you. Much of it is coming from what you continue holding on to long after your spirit already recognized it was unhealthy. You keep reopening emotional doors that I have been trying to close because part of you fears what life will look like without those attachments. But my child, there are blessings waiting for you beyond this emotional burden that you cannot yet fully see. I see the future you keep delaying every time you return to what already broke your peace. I see healthy relationships waiting to enter your life. I see rest waiting for your nervous mind. I see joy returning slowly to places inside you that emotional survival almost destroyed. But your hands remain too full of old pain to fully receive what I am preparing. You cannot keep carrying emotional chaos while expecting your spirit to feel light and free. Please stop believing that letting go means losing everything valuable. Sometimes release creates room for restoration. Sometimes separation creates space for healing your heart could never fully experience, while staying emotionally entangled in the same cycles. You have spent too long carrying people, memories, disappointments, guilt, and emotional responsibility that no longer belong in your future. Take a deep breath now, and imagine what your life could feel like without this constant heaviness pressing against your spirit. Imagine waking up without emotional confusion controlling your thoughts. Imagine no longer feeling responsible for fixing relationships that continuously damage your peace. Imagine your heart finally having enough room to breathe, rest, and trust again. That life is not as far away as you think, my child. Come walk with me and loosen your grip on what keeps exhausting you. Stop treating emotional suffering like something you must carry forever. Lay the weight down slowly if you need to, but stop picking it back up every time loneliness or fear whispers to you. Trust me enough to believe that release is not punishment. It is preparation. I am clearing space inside your life for peace, healing, healthier love, and deeper clarity. But you must stop carrying emotional weight that keeps your spirit trapped in survival mode. Let your tired heart rest now. There are blessings waiting beyond this heaviness that your soul has not even fully imagined yet. My child, I know right now your heart still sees this separation mostly as loss. You keep looking at what ended, what changed, what slipped away from your hands, and it hurts more deeply than you expected. Some days you still wonder why things could not have worked differently. You replay memories while trying to understand why people you loved became part of your pain instead of your peace. But come closer and listen carefully to me now. One day you will look back at this season with different eyes than the ones you have today. Right now, your emotions are too close to the wound to fully understand what I protected you from. You only see the heartbreak, the loneliness, and the confusion. But I saw the direction certain relationships were leading your spirit long before you recognized the danger yourself. I saw how much of your peace was disappearing. I saw the exhaustion settling deeper into your heart. I saw how much of yourself you were sacrificing just to keep certain people near you. You kept asking me to restore relationships that were slowly breaking your spirit. You kept begging for doors to reopen while your soul quietly cried for rest underneath the attachment. But my child, some separations happen because your future cannot survive inside the emotional environment your past created. Certain people were connected to old patterns, old wounds, and old versions of you that could not continue into the life I am preparing ahead. Please stop measuring this season only by the pain you currently feel. Healing often looks confusing while you are walking through it. Release often feels cruel before peace finally arrives. But trust me long enough to believe there was purpose hidden inside this goodbye, even if your heart cannot fully see it yet. Take a deep breath now, and stop trying to force immediate understanding from a process your spirit is still healing through. Some clarity only arrives with time. Some answers only become visible after distance allows your heart to finally breathe without emotional pressure clouding your discernment. You will eventually recognize how much anxiety, confusion, and emotional exhaustion had become normal for you. You will see what your love kept trying to ignore. Come walk with me through this transition instead of resisting it constantly. Let your heart grieve honestly without turning backward again. Trust that I am not removing people from your life carelessly. I am protecting your future in ways you may not understand yet. One day, my child, you will thank me for the doors that closed, the distance that formed, and the relationships that could not continue. What feels painful now may eventually become the very thing that saved your peace, restored your spirit, and guided you toward the life your heart had been praying for all along. My child, I need you to hear me clearly now because your heart has spent too long believing this loss is the end of your story. You have been standing inside this pain for so long that part of you cannot imagine life beyond it. The separation hurt you deeply. The disappointment changed you. The silence, the distance, the unanswered questions, and the emotional exhaustion all left marks on your spirit that you are still trying to understand. But come closer and listen carefully to me now. Your life is not ending here. You keep looking at who walked away as though they carried your future with them. You keep grieving relationships as though losing certain people means losing your chance at peace, love, joy, or emotional safety forever. But my child, people leaving your life does not mean I have abandoned your future. Some departures are painful because they break emotional attachments your heart depended on too heavily. Yet even in this release, I am still guiding you toward healing you could never fully reach while staying trapped inside the same cycles. I know letting go feels frightening. You became emotionally tied to familiar patterns even when those patterns wounded you repeatedly. The chaos became familiar. The uncertainty became familiar. The emotional survival became familiar. But I did not create you to spend your entire life fighting for scraps of love while your spirit slowly disappeared underneath exhaustion. Take a deep breath now and stop believing that this heartbreak defines the rest of your life. It does not. What ended was one chapter, not your entire future. I need you to loosen your grip on the people who keep teaching your heart to survive instead of rest. Let them go without bitterness. Let them go without revenge. Release them honestly and place your wounded heart in my hands instead of dragging it back toward what already broke your peace. Come walk with me now into the unfamiliar season ahead. Yes, it may feel quiet at first. Yes, there will be moments where your heart misses what once felt important to you. but stay close to me through those moments instead of running backward again. Healing needs space. Peace needs room to grow. Your future needs freedom from the emotional weight that has been suffocating your spirit for far too long. I am not leading you toward emptiness, my child. I am leading you toward restoration. There is still joy ahead of you. There is still healthy love ahead of you. There are still relationships that will not require you to abandon your peace to keep them alive. Do not stop your life at this goodbye. Do not build your identity around this heartbreak. Lift your head now. Open your hands now. Let them go. Trust me with what comes next. One day you will look back at this painful release and realize it was the moment your spirit finally became free enough to receive the peace you had been praying for all along. My child, this is not the end. It is the turning point where I reveal what I was building all along through your release. I am the God who brings resurrection out of what looked finished, and I am using this message to reach those who are still afraid to let go. When you support this work through Super Thanks membership, with a PayPal link in the video description, you are helping carry my voice into lives still bound by heartbreak and fear. I declare, your life is hidden with me, and I am anchoring you in a future filled with restoration and peace. Every seed you sow becomes a testimony written in someone else's breakthrough, and I will return it to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. I will not forget your obedience, and I will establish new strength in your spirit as you give. Now lift your faith and act immediately. Let your obedience speak into eternity. Before you leave this message, I want you to do something bold and personal. If you know God is calling you to release the people, the pain, and the emotional weight that has been draining your spirit, then go down into the comments and declare, I am letting go, and God is leading me to peace. Speak it with faith, even if your heart is still healing. This is not the end of your story, my child, and the moment you stop chasing what keeps breaking you may become the moment your life finally begins changing. Let this declaration be your first step out of emotional bondage and into the peace God has been trying to lead you toward all along. Amen.